Hello students, we'll see question answers from events tries and O level. First question. It was important then the recaptured events keep us the facade till the very last moment of his interaction with the governor. Support this statement with the rationale. Value points: was planning his escape. The police officer and police van driver were his accomplices. Could not risk discovery. Had to keep up the facade that the authorities had the upper hand. Detailed answer. Evans already had a well thought out plan B in case his initial plan failed. When the governor recaptured Evans, it was important for Evans to show that his initial plan has failed and he was feeling trapped. This ensured the governor that he was in his clutches and the governor became a bit casual. This casualness made the governor hand him over to silent prison officer. The governor was unaware that the officer as well as the driver of prison van were actually Evans' accomplices. As Evans finally escaped, he had the last laugh at the governor. Question 2. Why did the prison officers call Evans the Break? Answer. Evans was also known as Evans the Break as he had run away thrice from the jail. He was considered a pleasant sort of a chap by the prison authorities. He was good at imitations but was a congenital kleptomaniac. He wanted to sit for examination so as to use the opportunity to escape from the prison. Question 3. Why was Evans not ready to remove his hat, or why did Evans not take off his hat when Jackson ordered him to do so? Value points. Evans after the exam was to impersonate McClary and escape from prison. McClary had short hair, Evans had chopped up his hair and hid it under the hat. Detailed answer. Evans did not take off his hat when Jackson ordered him to do so because he had a plan in his mind. Evans had long wavy hair. He had decided to crop them short so as to impersonate McClary, but this would have been evident if he had taken off his bobble hat. So he took permission from Jackson to keep his hat on while preparing for the exam on the pretext that it was his lucky charm. Question 4. How did the governor, Oxford Prison, describe Evans to the Secretary Examination Board? Or what impression of Evans did the governor give to the Secretary of Examination Board? Or what opinion of Evans did the prison authorities convey to the Secretary Education Board? Value points. No record of violence, very pleasant fellow, star at the Christmas concert, a congenital kleptomaniac. Detailed answer. The governor gave quite a satisfactory report about Evans to the Secretary of the Board. It was stated that Evans had no record of violence and he was quite a pleasant sort of chap. Evans was one of the stars at the Christmas concert, but he suffers from a weakness. He was a congenital kleptomaniac. On the other hand, he was good at imitations. Question 5. What was his German teacher's opinion of Evans' proficiency in German? Value points. German teacher doubtful of Evans' language ability. Evans could not even understand the basic pleasantries in German. Detailed answer. The German teacher did not have a good opinion about Evans' proficiency in German. He was doubtful about whether he would pass the exam as Evans could not understand even the basic pleasantries in German. So the teacher was doubtful of Evans' language abilities. Question 6. What were the contents of small brown suitcase that McClary carried? Answer. McClary's small brown suitcase contained a sealed question paper envelope, a yellow invigilation form, a special authentication card from the examination board, a paper knife, a Bible, and a semi-inflated rubber tube. Question 7. Which important call did the governor receive when the examination was going on? Answer. The important call that the governor received was from the exam department. The person said that there were some corrections in the question paper and told the governor about the said corrections. Besides, the caller also asked for the time when the exam started. Question 8. Which article in McClary's suitcase played perhaps the most significant role in Evans' escape and how? Answer. Value points. Semi-inflated rubber ring or tube with pig's blood, which he used to escape. pretend to be bounded McClary. The question paper provided the escape plan that misguided the jail authorities to go in another direction. Detailed answer. Evans was a habitual jailbreaker who outwitted everyone and escaped from the prison in the spite of all precautions. From the very beginning, when the German teacher entered the prison to the last encounter when the governor in the hotel, the latter outsmarted everybody. The question paper for the examination served to send a message to Evans. McClary drew the governor's attention to the photocopied sheet superimposed over the last sheet of question paper. It contained a message for Evans. He had been asked to follow the escape plan. The most important point in the time, according to the message, was 3 minutes before the end of examination. The governor was unable to decipher the next line of German text. Then he was asked to hit McClary and not to overdo the Scots accent. The correction slips also played a crucial role. At first, they hadn't been able to fix a hotel. The slips gave Evans the name of the hotel where he was to stay. Question 9. How does the Evans escape from jail? Answer. Evans decided to appear for the O-level German examination. When the examination was conducted, one of his accomplices came as invigilator, McClary. After the exam, Evans walked out a free man disguised as examiner McClary. Question 10. What could the governor have done to securely bring Evans back to prison from the Golden Lion? Answer. The governor, instead of sending Evans with other officers in some other car, could have got Evans back with himself in his own car, or should have sat in the van in which Evans was supposed to go. This way he could have known the people in the van were not his men but Evans' accomplices. You can see tips here. Question 11. How did the governor find out where Evans was? Answer. The governor came to know where Evans was when he read the note in German on the question paper about index and center number. Now we will see the long answer type questions. Question 1. Write a character sketch of the governor of Oxford prison based on the story Evans tries an O-level. Value points. Good for giggle, gullible, sensitive, kind, considerate, understanding, consents to Evans' request, also agree to Evans' objections and orders, Stephens to stand outside the cell, diligent, sincere, meticulous, believes in double checking, tries to cover every contingency, eventuality, smart enough to decode the message in the correction slip. Detailed answer. The governor of the HM prison Oxford appears to be kind-hearted fellow at the start as he arranges for an O-level exam for a prisoner renowned for his ability to escape. He was, though, quite skeptical of Evans and made every arrangement to make sure that Evans had no means to escape. He was also very proud and self-conscious. He did not want Evans to disgrace him by escaping from his prison. He had a sharp presence of mind, which was clear from the fact that he cross-checked every call that was made to the prison that day. He planned the exam meticulously. He was smart enough to decode the message in the correction slip. However, he got overconfident of his arrangements and gave Evans the opportunity to escape. Also, he was a person who did not mind showering praise planned to him. He had admired him. At last, he proved to be just another good for gullible governor when Evans tricked him again and successfully escaped. His overconfidence and self-praise let him down. Now let us see the question 2. How did the mistakes committed by prison authorities help Evans in escaping from prison? Value points. Letting Evans see the name of invigilator on the form. Not taking more precautions in verifying invigilator's identity despite knowing Evans knew his name. Letting Evans wear the hat for good luck. Allowing McClary to take the rubber tube inside. Stephens' mistakes. Not going to cell despite seeing the Evans was just sitting there not writing at all. Not verifying governor's call. Not checking him despite seeing that McClary looked slimmer while going out. Governor's mistakes. Appointed Stephens a new guard to guard Evans. Allowing Stephens to move out of cell when Evans protested. letting Evans know that the cell was bugged, letting examination phone call go through without verifying its call authenticity, letting Evans wear a blanket, assuming he had left the correction paper behind by mistake and believing the information in it, calling for police, not the ambulance. At the end, letting Evans escape a second time in van without verifying the guards despite knowing how cunning Evans was. Detailed answer. In spite of all the precautions taken by Governor and his staff, they failed to foil Evans' bid to escape because of certain lapses on their part. First of all, they called a teacher from the technical college to act as Evans' German tutor but never cared to check on him. Then they engaged Reverend S. McClary to invigilate but never cared to check on him when he came to discharge his duties. When Stephens raised an alarm, they blindly went by his assumption that Evans, impersonating as McClary, had walked out of the prison after injuring McClary. They did not even bother to check the identity of injured McClary. Then McClary gave them the slip and disappeared. Belated, they discovered that it was Evans impersonating McClary who had stayed in. Finally, following the clues, the governor nabs Evans at the Golden Lion Hotel. Here again he acted foolishly. He rang up the local police station and asked them to send a police van, which successfully took Evans away right from under his nose, as no security check of the van was done. Question 3. Give a detailed account of preparations made by Governor for Evans James to write his examination, or what precautions were taken by prison authorities for the smooth conduct of examination. Value points. So precautions taken were: Officer Jackson, the senior prison officer of D Wing, and Stephens, who was newly recruited to the force, visited Evans' cell. Checking of Evans' cell before the exam. 2 square tables were set opposite to each other and 2 hard chairs were placed in the cell. His razor, nail file, and nail scissors were removed from the cell. A bugging device was installed in the cell so the governor could listen to any talk going on there. Stephens had to peep into his cell every few minutes. Extra precautions were taken at the gates. Locked door between Evans' cell and the yards were with high walls. All messages and phone calls to go via the governor. A person from St. Mary Maggs was deputed as an invigilator. Detailed answer. Evans, the prisoner, was famous as Evans the breaker. So the prison officers were quite alert while conducting the O-level exam and took all the precautions to prevent him from escaping. First of all, it was requested that the board should conduct the exam in the cell itself, and request was accepted. 2 prison officers, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Stephens, were appointed to make all necessary arrangements. They took away his razor as well as nail scissors so that he could not use them for any type of injuries to McClary, the invigilator. The cell was searched for 2 hours and every objectionable thing was removed. Heavy security arrangements were made in the cell. Stephens was given the charge of staying there all the time to keep an eye on Evans and also to leave McClary at the gate when the exam was over. The governor was all the time in touch with the officers so as to thwart any untoward incident. Hence, it was a foolproof plan on the part of prison officials. Even then, Evans had the last laugh and escaped from the prison. Question 4. What purpose did the question paper and the correction slip serve? How did they help both the criminals and the governor? Answer. The question paper serves to send a message to Evans. McClary draws the governor's attention to the photocopied sheet superimposed over the last sheet of question paper. It contains a message for Evans. He has been asked to follow the plan. The most important point in the time, according to the message, is 3 minutes before the end of examination. The governor is unable to decipher the next line of German text. Then Evans has been asked not to hit McClary too hard and not to overdo the Scots accent. The correction slip plays a crucial role in the plan of Evans' escape. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. At first, they had not been able to fix up a hotel. The correction slip gives Evans the name of the hotel where he is to stay. Secondly, it gives them the opportunity to know the time when the examination started. Let's see the question fifth. How was injured McClary able to befool the prison officers? Answer. All precautions had been taken for the smooth conduct of O-level German examination. No one wanted to take chances with Evans the Breaker. He had already escaped from the prison 3 times. The governor had to make an unusual request to the board to conduct the examination in cell itself. One of the persons from St. Mary Mag was to invigilate. The senior prison officer Jackson and prison officer Stephens left no stone unturned to make all the necessary arrangements. Evans' razor and nail scissors were taken away as they could be used for cutting his throat or injuring McClary. Jackson took 2 hours to search his cell and reported that nothing was hidden there. But Evans disturbed all his plans. He managed to procure a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and some sort of weapon in his cell through the false McClary. Actually, he had managed to keep the real McClary securely bound and gagged in his study at Board Street. He had been there since 8:15 a.m. This meant the McClary never went to prison. Secondly, it was Evans who was impersonating McClary and stayed in the cell. Stephens made a hasty conclusion that the injured man in the chair was McClary. The last act of folly on the part of governor was enough to let Evans slip out of his net. Thus, this was how the injured McClary was able to befool the prison officers and Evans was able to escape. Question number 6. Describe 3 tricks used by Evans to escape from prison. So, value points. These are many tricks. Taking O-level exam with accomplice as invigilator, also tutor. Played on Jackson's compassion, allowed to wear cap. Use Stephen's ego to walk McClary to gate. New governor was fair, asked him to remove Stephen from the cell. Had a complice pose as McClary. Cut his hair, covered with cap. Used blanket to cover himself. Devised plan B. Used correction slip. Detailed answer. Evans, the virtual jailbreaker, outwits everyone, and in spite of all precautions taken by governor, he is able to escape from the prison. From the very beginning, when the German teacher enters the prison to last encounter between the governor and Evans in the hotel, the latter outsmarts them at each stage and proves that they are no match for his crafty scheming. Evans carries out all his plans right under their noses, turning the tables on them, making the prison authorities appear as good-for-nothing officers. For example, he knew that Mr. Jackson, who used rough tone, had some compassion in him. He granted Evans' request to keep the filthy-looking red and white bobble hat on his head during the examination. The hat was actually to hide his recently cropped hair. Also, he knew that prison officers will blindly go by assumption. He pretended to pose as injured McClary in the cell. No one checked the identity of injured McClary, as it was assumed that Evans hit McClary and escaped. In fact, Evans is actually officially escorted out of jail by prison officials themselves. Finally, at the hotel, when the governor feels that he has been able to nab Evans, he dodges him and slips away. And that's it. Thank you, and please subscribe.